Hello out there in Nala land. We begin our talk this year, Mr. Hashem. As we end off this year and get ourselves prepared for the Teshuva process, let us not forget that this year, as always, is Lili Nus's Rachalea Bas Rav Chaim Tzviya. Rachalea Bas Rav Chaim Tzviya, Shalom. We want to thank the studio manager, Mrs. Libby Bamser, for all of her tremendous help here in the studio. And here is our talk for Teshuva. And there is an extremely famous mashal from the Chafetz Chaim where he said the following. He said, why is it that we have a telephone? Now, of course, Ma Bell knows we have a phone, so one person can speak to another person. But the Chafetz Chaim, who always had these special lenses of Torah, saw other reasons in the telephone. Aside from one person to communicate with another person, the telephone teaches you that what you say here can be heard there. What you say here can be heard there. You have to be aware of the fact that you speak Lashon Hara over here, over there in Shemaim, they hear it. That's the lesson of a telephone. And why do we have a train? Well, we know a train gets you somewhere and transports you. Chafetz Chaim saw this greater symbolism also. He said it teaches you that in 1 second you can miss the whole ride. You come a minute late, you miss the ride. Every second is precious. And why a telegram? Tell you that every word is precious, every word counts. And for everything he had a lesson. There's one mashal he doesn't give. He can't be blamed for this because he didn't know it. He wasn't familiar with it. But I think that it's the greatest mashal of all. And my inspiration here is I heard from a gentleman in Queens who suggested this to me. And I think Mr. Orbach is his name. But the reason the Chafetz Chaim didn't say it is because he was not familiar with it. But it's such a good mashal. And that is that life is a credit card. What do you see from a credit card? You can get anything you want. You can get anything. But ultimately you have to pay for it. Ultimately you're going to have to pay. And that's a very important lesson. You have to pay eventually. In other words, you have to pay life and sustenance and health and wealth and children and pleasant neighbors. All of these things is no different than any other commodity you have to pay for. And let's try and explain the dynamics of the transaction. We say, Zachrenu l'chaim melech chafetz b'chaim v'katzbenim sefer chaim melech chafetz b'chaim. The operative word is lema'ancha. We seek a life. Everybody wants life. But we're entitled to this life. It's a life that is lema'ancha for your sake. In other words, that there's no need to go to a broker because it's sold by owner. It was on the same page if it's lema'ancha for God's sake. Lamancha means that it's covered by the boss. It's a company expense. It's mamish free. For example, let's say you work for a large firm and you're instructed that a client is flying in from Milwaukee. You're to take this client, wine and dine them, take them to the theater, put them in a good mood because we want to get a large contract out of this person. So you meet them at the airport and you take them out to a very fancy restaurant and you serve a lot of wine. Then you take them out to a show and the next day you also give them a tour of the city. And on the following day, they come to the office, wined and dined, and in a very good mood about the largesse of your company. The remarkable thing is at the end of the month, when you get your paycheck, you see that $7,400 have been deducted. You go to the boss. What happened? What happened? He said, I see you went to the theater. You had your shoes shined. You went to another place. I was working for the boss. I was taking the guest out. If you're working for the boss, there's no charge. But if you're doing it for yourself, you've got to pay every penny. That's Lamancha. You're working for the boss. Let's say there's a long line in Home Depot. You're waiting in line, you're waiting for 25 minutes, and then you see this fellow come by with 2 wagons that are filled all the way to the top. It's going to take 40 minutes just to check him out. And he goes to the front of the line. Front of the line! You're waiting here 20 minutes, and he goes to the front of the line. He says, hey buddy, well, who are you cutting over here? I'm sorry, I'm the contractor for Mr. Home Depot. I'm going to the front. He's working for the boss. There's no line. No cost. Therefore, the example that Rabbi Barry Schaefer gave, if you buy a fancy treadmill because you want to be a buff and look very attractive, it's going to cost you. But if you're doing it to want to be healthy, you want to be healthful, there's no charge. You want to buy a beautiful dress, the Chavit Yantif, no charge. That's working for the boss. You want to do it to catch the eye, it's going to cost you. You have to pay for it. You want a beautiful home to perform mitzvot, to achnas orchim, No cost. It's all for free. It's not taken away from your health and your wealth and your olam haba. But if you're doing it because you want to show off and grab the eye of others, somehow or another God's going to make you pay for it. And it's not just the cost of the land tax and the purchase price. It's going to come away in this world, to come away in the world to come. That's not working for the boss. And how much it's going to cost you, that's a decision which you make in the sanctor sanctorium of your cranium. Do you work for the boss, or do you want to stack up the bills and have to pay for them later? Where's my source sheet? Over here. So this idea of working for the boss, it's an idea which you can find in the Chavos Halavavos. I found it in the Chacham Murs by Simcha Zissel Mikelem, and I'm going to read first